What is the opposite of fragile? That you might say, well, something that is strong. Actually, no. Strong is stronger than fragile, but it's not the opposite of fragile. Fragile is something that breaks under pressure, but steel, which is strong, breaks under pressure. Stone, which is strong, breaks under pressure. Author and sociologist Salim Taib wrote an entire book, and the title of his book is a brand new English word. I love it. It is actually the opposite of fragile. Here's his word: anti-fragile. You go, how does that make sense? Well, a teacup, if you put pressure on it, will break. It's fragile. So will steel, stone. But something that is anti-fragile, you put pressure on it, it gets stronger from the pressure. What in the world is that? Well, think about this. If you have an entrepreneur and you put pressure on them, we saw this during COVID. You put pressure on an entrepreneur, they get stronger. And now there's all kinds of businesses that are doing all kinds of home deliveries and people working from home. Why? Because you put pressure on an entrepreneur and they figure out how to be better. A riot is another thing that is anti-fragile. You put pressure on a protest, it becomes a bigger riot. Here's something that you have in you that is anti-fragile: bones. Do you know that as you get older, I know a little something about this, if you lift weights, put pressure on your bones, they actually get stronger with the pressure you put on them. Here's the question for you. Can you be an anti-fragile person? This is critically important to me as I watch not just culture in general, but particularly our next generation. We put helmets on everything. We've given a trophy for nothing. And it's made a generation that I'm afraid is in danger of being fragile. But could we, as the people of God, and we have a long history of this, create a generation that is actually anti-fragile by the pressure that's put on us? In the history of the church, every time we have been persecuted, we didn't get weaker as a church, we got stronger. So, my encouragement as we look at this book of Jeremiah, also called, by the way, the weeping prophet, because all the pressure that was put on him. He was an anti-fragile person. Do you know that the book of Jeremiah was actually written 4 times? The first rendition of Jeremiah, the king took page by page, read it. He didn't like Jeremiah. Cut it, threw it in the fire. Read it, cut it, threw it in the fire. And Jeremiah wrote another rendition. And then we have this invading army come in and take over Israel. So one revision of the book of Jeremiah went to Babylon. Another revision stayed for the exiles in Jerusalem, and another went to Egypt with those who fled there. 4 renditions of the same book. This is a very interesting book, and it's an anti-fragile book. And as we read it, I just want to encourage you. How can we be a people that when pressure is put on us, and we're tempted to be called the weeping prophet, we actually become the anti-fragile people of God? And that is something worth talking about.